Making headlines. The Maldivian delegation left the 79th United Nations General Assembly Hall as Israeli Prime Minister began his address. The ambassador of China to the Maldives states that the Maldives and China will work on initiatives aiming to strengthen the bilateral relations between the two countries. And the tourism minister announces that a hotel school is being developed in the Maldives.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome to PSMNEWS in English. I'm Rutma Mahmoud, your host for the evening. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz has departed New York after concluding his official visit to the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA. He concluded his visit and departed New York on Saturday.
The Maldivian government stated that the delegation's departure was a gesture honoring President Dr. Mohammad Muiz's strong stance on Palestine and his dedication to its cause. In his address to the UN General Assembly, President Dr. Muiz urged the international community to...
The Maldivian delegation left the 79th United Nations General Assembly Hall as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu began his address.
During his visit, President Dr. Muiz delivered his statement at the general debate of the 79th UNGA. In a historic moment, he also addressed the Security Council, marking the first time The Maldivian government stated that the delegation's departure was a gesture honoring President Dr. Mohammad Muiz's strong stance on Palestine and his dedication to its cause. In his address to the UN General Assembly, President Dr. Muiz urged the international community to collaborate in addressing the perilous situation faced by the Palestinian people. He called for accountability for Israel's action, describing them as a travesty of justice. He condemned the attacks on Palestine as acts of terrorism and genocide, emphasizing the necessity of upholding the rule of law. The president also advocated for Palestine to be granted full membership in the United Nations. During his visit to the United Nations for the General Assembly, President Dr. Muiz met with the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, reaffirming the Maldives' unwavering commitment to international efforts aimed at recognizing Palestine as an independent state.
Ambassador of China to the Maldives, Wang Lijin, has stated that Maldives and China will work on initiatives from various sectors, including sports, aiming to strengthen the bilateral relations between the two countries. In an interview given after participating in the Xiamen Marathon, Ambassador Wang stated that efforts are being exerted by the two countries to ensure the implementation of the decisions undertaken by President Dr. Mohammad Muiz on his official visit to China. Noting that the president first arrived at Xiamen, China in his official visit to the country, the ambassador stated that the Maldives and Xiamen leaders agreed on collaboration. She revealed that the Xiamen Marathon was also an activity planned during the president's official visit. Furthermore, Ambassador Wang emphasized the ongoing efforts to enhance the bilateral ties between the two countries following the discussions held by the leaders of the Maldives and China. Following the marathon, Minister of Sports, Fitness and Recreation Abdullah Rafi stated that such events are advantageous to the Maldives. As such, while the marathon ensured the good health and well-being of residents, it also plays a pivotal role to increase the interest of the Chinese people towards Maldivians. The link road in Lamtul was developed with the assistance of the Chinese government. It is the longest road in the Maldives, connecting 4 islands. China is a country which assists the Maldives in various developmental initiatives. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz has concluded his official visit to New York City to attend the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, and departed the city.
The Maldivian government stated that the delegation's departure was a gesture honoring President Dr. Mohammad Muiz's strong stance on Palestine and his dedication to its cause. In his address to the UN General Assembly, President Dr. Muiz urged the international community to collaborate in addressing the perilous situation faced by the... During his visit, President Dr. Moise delivered his statement at the general debate of the 79th UNGA. In a historic moment, he also addressed the Security Council, marking the first time a Maldivian president has done so in the 59 years since the Maldives became a UN member. Throughout the assembly, he delivered multiple statements and co-chaired several sideline events, emphasizing key issues such as climate change, renewable energy, socio-economic challenges and digitalization. In his statement at the UNGA, President Dr. Moise outlined his vision for transforming the Maldives into a fully developed nation by 2040. He also called upon world leaders to hold Israel accountable for its actions in Palestine, advocating for the establishment of an independent Palestinian state and an end to the Israeli aggression as well as full recognition of Palestine as a UN member state. During his address at the UN Security Council, President Dr. Moise urged the abolition of veto power, characterizing it as an outdated and unjust mechanism that obstructs global peace and security. His call resonated with smaller nations that believe eliminating the veto would enhance the UN's responsiveness to vulnerable populations and better equip it to tackle global challenges. The president engaged in various high-level bilateral meetings with head of delegations at the UNGA 79, including a significant meeting with United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. He also connected with the Maldivian community residing in New York. In addition, President Dr. Moise addressed Princeton University as part of the Dean's Leadership Series at the Princeton School of Public and International Affairs. He concluded his visit with a tour of the Google office in New York.
Ministry of Health has announced plans to develop the Maldives' digital health architecture blueprint, a digital system which can maintain the records of patients. This initiative aims to modernize the health sector of the Maldives and ensure that the health records of patients are well maintained. The Health Ministry stated that efforts are underway to develop a roadmap to achieve this objective. The Health Ministry expressed optimism about the blueprint, noting that it will help address the lack of essential information needed for treatment provision. Additionally, it will facilitate access to up-to-date information, enabling more informed decision-making in policy development. Under the efforts to create the Maldives' digital health architecture blueprint, the Ministry has conducted workshops with healthcare providers, policymakers, experts and other relevant stakeholders to gather their opinions and recommendations. The Ministry affirmed that public opinion will also be sought before completing the development of the blueprint. The Ministry is working in collaboration with the World Health Organization (WHO) and the Asian Development Bank (ADB) to develop the Maldives' digital health architecture blueprint. Minister of Climate Change, Environment and Energy Tariq Ibrahim has asserted that the leadership of former President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum left the Maldives marginalized in the international arena. His remarks followed criticism from the People's National Front (PNF) regarding the President's recent statements at the United Nations General Assembly.
In a social media post, Minister Tariq highlighted that President Yamin did not attend the UNGA during his tenure, which he claimed demonstrated a lack of interest in strengthening the Maldives' international relations. Notably, he mentioned that in 2015, while world leaders gathered for the UN Summit on Sustainable Development Goals, President Yamin was absent. The minister emphasized the importance of leaders representing their people on the global stage and advocating for necessary support. He urged that President Yamin's approach effectively distanced the Maldives from international engagement. In contrast, Minister Tariq praised President Dr. Mohamed Moise for his proactive stance. He stated that President Dr. Moise prioritizes the needs of the people and is actively working to enhance relations with other countries. Notably, he highlighted that President Dr. Moise has made history by being the first Maldivian president to address the UN Security Council, showcasing the Maldives' commitment to strengthening bilateral relations. Minister Tariq asserted that President Dr. Moise is dedicated to addressing issues with a people-first approach and is committed to policies accepted by the Maldives. He expressed confidence that the president would always advocate for the right course of action. Minister Thorig expressed optimism that President Dr. Moise would work tirelessly towards a brighter future for the country.
We'll be back after Isha prayer.
Mammati asli mage dammartiye aliko ding mage
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدًا الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وبعثه مقامًا محمودًا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
ඒරෙග්ග දුනියග නਜ਼ර ಹುಟ್ಟಿಫಾವಾ ಪೊಡಿತಿ ಮಸಲ್ತ
Cero votos en contra.
ඒ මස්සල්තවගේ එම්මෙ ෆහුග තෆ්සීර් එම්මෙ ෆුණ දිරාසා කරව පොයි
ದುನಿಯೆಗೆ ಖಳಿ ಕೊಮ್ಮೆ ದುವಹಕು ಸೋಳಗಡಿ ತಿರಿಹುಗ PSM ನ್ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್
PSM ಗೆ ಟಿವಿ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ತಕ ರೇಡಿಯೋ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ತ ಮಿಹಾರು PSM Air application ನು ತಿಯ ಬೇಫ್ರುನ್ನ ಹಿಲೆ ಬಲಾಲೆವೇನೆ ಅದಿ ಅಡುವ ಹಾಲೆವೇನೆ ದುನಿಯೆಗೆ ಕೊಮ್ಮೆ ತಾಗುಹುರೆಗೆನ್ ಕೊಮ್ಮೆ ಗಡಿಯ PSM ಗೆ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ತ ಬಲಾಲುಮ ಅವಹ PSM Air app ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಕುರವ್ವ ಮಿಹಾರು ಆಪ್ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ನ ಗೂಗಲ್ ಪ್ಲೇ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ ಮಿ ಆಪ್ ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಕೊಲ್ಲವೇನೆ
Welcome back to English News. Tourism Minister Ibrahim Faisal announced that a hotel school is being developed in the Maldives. This update came during his special message for World Tourism Day. Mr. Faisal emphasized the government's commitment to enhance the tourism sector, highlighting that the establishment of the hotel school is part of President Dr. Mohamed Moises' promise. He mentioned discussions held with the Swiss hotel school regarding the project. He also added that the president envisions developing this facility on a separate island where tourism will continue to thrive. Minister Faisal also underscored the need to increase the number of Maldivians in managerial positions within the tourism industry. In his message, Mr. Faisal reiterated the government's dedication to addressing the needs of tourism workers and resolving challenges within the sector. Tourism Minister Ibrahim Faisal has announced plans to provide low-interest loans to young individuals aspiring to enter the tourism sector. His remarks came during the ceremony held to celebrate the 10th anniversary of tourism in Formless City.
Minister Faisal highlighted that financial constraints are the primary obstacle faced by young people interested in pursuing careers in tourism. To address this, he disclosed that the Tourism Ministry is collaborating with Maldivian banks to lower the high interest rates on loans. He also disclosed that a meeting with the World Bank's International Finance Corporation (IFC) has been held to discuss the establishment of a tourism development fund with reduced interest rates, with the aim to launch the fund within the first or second quarter of next year. The minister also emphasized his commitment to the development of local tourism, announcing the creation of a dedicated department within the Ministry of Tourism to promote this sector. Additionally, Minister Faisal expressed intentions to enhance the Maldives' reputation as a premier dive destination. He noted that the Diving Act, passed in 1991, will be evaluated and revised to meet contemporary needs in collaboration with relevant authorities. During the ceremony, the Formula Tourism Award 2024 was presented to local guest house owners, dive center operators and others who have made significant contributions to the city's tourism sector. The opening of the first guest house in the city, Vilaksa Retreat, on June 16, 2013, is considered the inception of tourism in Formula.
Minister of State for Homeland Security and Technology, Lubna Mohammad Zahir, has underscored the crucial importance of collaborating with local councils to ensure the efficient utilization of state resources.
Speaking at the ceremony held in Thinadhu City to launch the Safety and Security Committee, State Minister Lubna highlighted the necessity of cooperative efforts with councils and government authorities for the effective use of state-owned resources. She highlighted the pivotal role ministries play in developing human resources and empowering councils. The Ministry of Homeland Security and Technology signed a Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) with Thinadhu City and 8 island councils of Gafdal Atoll. This MOU aims to identify potential measures to reduce crime rates and establish a special committee to provide recommendations to the ministry on enhancing the safety and security of the islands. The committee will also collaborate with relevant island authorities to address crime reduction, and their works will be monitored by the councils. The ministry noted that this initiative marks the first instance of community collaboration aimed at reducing crime rates. Plans are also underway to enter into agreements with councils nationwide and establish similar committees. Through these agreements, the ministry intends to support councils in ensuring the services provided by the ministry and its agencies reach the islands. Speaking at the ceremony, Mayor of Tinadu City Council, Saud Ali, highlighted the significance of this initiative, urging that all relevant authorities work collectively to empower the youth. The mayor also called for adequate facilities and resources in the city as it serves citizens from across the atoll seeking services.
The blue-chip Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at a record high on Friday as investors welcomed a subdued inflation report that also lifted small-cap stocks, which stand to benefit from more interest rates cuts by the Federal Reserve.
The technology-heavy Nasdaq slipped and the S&P 500 edged slightly lower, but both indexes stayed close to recent record highs. All three Wall Street indexes lodged their third consecutive week of gains.
I think you're basically coming into the end of the month and the quarter. I think there's been surprising resilience in a way. And I think it's just being reflected. There's just not, we kind of come into each evening thinking tomorrow maybe we'll get a little bit of a pullback. It tends to be relatively stable. Obviously, we had news come out this morning with respect to inflation data that was relatively tame. That was positively received. I think there's a lot of people that are repositioning their portfolios still on a daily basis. So you've got a little bit of yesterday's winner, today's loser, and vice versa. But in general, I would call the tone resilient.
The Commerce Department reported a moderate rise in consumer spending while inflation pressures continued to ease. Separately, the University of Michigan's final September reading on consumer sentiment came in at 70.1, surpassing the economists' expectations of 69.3, according to a Reuters poll. The S&P 500 lost 7.20 points or 0.13% to end at 5,738.17 points, while the Nasdaq Composite lost 70.701 points or 0.39% to 18,119.59. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 113.89 points or 0.33% to 42,313. The Russell 2000 index, which tracks small caps that fare better in a low-rate environment, climbed to a one-week high. Investors now slightly favor a 50 basis point cut at the Fed's next meeting, with a 52.1% chance up from a coin toss before the data, as per the CME Group's FedWatch tool.
Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris visited the U.S.-Mexico border for the first time in her 2024 presidential campaign, calling for tighter asylum restrictions and vowing to make stopping fentanyl from entering the U.S. a top priority.
Harris spoke in Douglas, Arizona, a border town of less than 17,000 people, where she accused her Republican rival Donald Trump of fanning the flames of fear and division over the impact of immigrants on American life. Harris called for more punitive measures for people crossing the border illegally, following an asylum ban for those entering the U.S. illegally, established by President Joe Biden this year.
To reduce illegal border crossings, I will take further action to keep the border closed between ports of entry. Those who cross our borders unlawfully will be apprehended and removed and barred from re-entering for 5 years. We will pursue more severe criminal charges against repeat violators. And if someone does not make an asylum request at a legal point of entry and instead crosses our border unlawfully, they will be barred from receiving asylum. While we understand that many people are desperate to migrate to the United States, our system must be orderly and secure.
But Harris also said that her policy would forge a path for a human immigration program. Harris was introduced by Teresa Guerrero, whose 31-year-old son died from fentanyl poisoning. She accused Trump of blocking a comprehensive border security bill that would have stemmed the flow of fentanyl. Harris said she would target the entire global fentanyl supply chain to materially and sustainably disrupt the flow of illicit fentanyl, calling on to China to do more to crack down on the fentanyl precursor chemicals.
That's it for now. Thank you for watching. Have a pleasant day ahead. Bye-bye.
For over 30 years, we have been getting stronger and faster. We have been expanding our network across the globe. In the Middle East and Northern Africa, we have Sister Union, Arab States Broadcasting Union, sharing news with us daily. In Europe, we exchange news with over 60 different European broadcasters, and in America, CNN receives news materials from AVN and broadcasts them all over the world. Asian news is changing faster and having more of an impact on global affairs than ever before.